What about Poltergeist? What can you tell us about that?
Just that it's real scary. It's real scary. And it's the closest thing I think. It's sort of a land Jaws for me. It's a movie about ghosts, but it's not a send-up, it's not a comedy. It's really a movie about a haunting in suburbia. And it has a lot of reality, and it has a lot of extraordinary special effects in it. All the effects were done by George Lucas's company, Industrial Light and Magic, up in the Bay Area. And for me, it was both movies I've sort of been making together, E.T. and Poltergeist, are overlapping in post-production by only 3 weeks. I mean, I was cutting Poltergeist and then cutting E.T. only 3 weeks apart. And the same with the dub. We're beginning to dub Poltergeist. 2 weeks before the dub is complete, E.T. will begin dubbing. So it's almost like making two movies at the same time. And I found that was, in a way, helpful because it gave me great objectivity. When I was working on Poltergeist, I had enormous clarity about E.T., and when I was suddenly involved in E.T., I had enormous clarity about Poltergeist, and I think that it helped both movies. The great similarity is the terror is relentless, and the terror is unseen in both movies. Until, in Jaws, you see the terror at the end, and of course in Poltergeist, you also see the terror at the end, a little before the end, actually. But it's once again very hard to compare those two movies aside from its the fact that it comes at you like a locomotive. Both films are you can watch watch Jaws and Poltergeist like this. That's a great way of watching movies. I used to watch films all the time that way. When I first saw The Thing when I was a kid, I watched it like this. When I saw I was a teenage werewolf. I look back on it now and wonder why I was afraid, but then I was a kid and I was like this in a theater. The only problem with that is Poltergeist was shot in Panavision. It's a shame to suddenly be looking at a little vignette through your fingers in a movie. But I think that's fun. People like to get on a downhill run and stay there until they either win or hit the wall.
You had a lot of fun making this movie, didn't you?
I had a ball. It was wonderful. It was just marvelous. I really feel it was a privilege to work with the people I worked with. The cast was terrific. Jo Beth Williams is an actress that gives you so much that it's just so natural to respond to her. And Craig T. Nelson, very strong actor, had the right degree of aloofness for the role, I felt. Beatrice Straight is a magnificent actress. Marty Casella, Richard Lawson, you can't beat them. They're real human beings, and what they project comes from the best there is.
This movie is a box office success. It's also somewhat controversial, with a lot of people saying that it's too violent for children to watch.
I don't feel that way. I feel that maybe children would understand it even better than we adults, because it deals a lot with the mythology surrounding archetypal childhood fears, the fears of having incidents with your toys. And I really feel that one of the main components of this movie is the drawing up of comparative myths between childhood and adulthood, the development of the new myths surrounding the electronic media.
Some of my films have been controversial in that some people feel that perhaps Jaws should have received an R rating, not a PG rating. But I don't really consider myself someone who makes movies that are restrictive for younger people. I also really believe that kids have changed since I was 12 years old. The 12-year-old kids of today are part of the Pac-Man generation. And they get more tense and screwed up inside, dropping their little quarters into the slots, playing Missile Command and Pac-Man and Asteroids. Certainly much more wound up than they will watching a motion picture. And I really feel that there is a slight generation gap between some of the people who rate movies and the people themselves out there who are receptive to films. Although, and I have to say although, the rating board has a very, very good point. They rate films for parents, not for children. It's a warning to parents to supervise their children's well-being and to either allow or forbid them to see a movie. That's what PG is all about, parental guidance. I think the rating board is very important. I think we have to have a rating board in this country, and I think Dick Heffron does a great job as the head of the rating board. Occasionally, not very often, but occasionally, as in Poltergeist, they make a bad call.